Thank you. uh, can you see me now? Because this is really difficult for me to maneuver. Okay. So, but yeah, thank you. And I see the way you were stumbling on some of the names. I know, but it's Massachusetts, Boston, and Worcester. It's also in Boston area, and it's so nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining in. I know that there are some, and I see Bolu Atife celebrating on the screen. Thank you, thank you. So today, I think I just have about 15 minutes or so to take us through, so we see how far we would go on this. I'm excited to be here, and Coach Tomi is a wonderful sister, and I'm glad that she has invited me to be a part of this. So, when she mentioned that I will be taking this section, I think one of the things she mentioned is that we'll be focusing on restoring hope for seniors going through grief, going through depression or abuse. I'm like, yeah, that's a great one, and we're going to touch on it. But I think first of all, I want to talk about what is the process of aging. What is aging process? Because that is the process that then leads to, you know, the feeling of grief, the feeling of abuse and depression. So yeah, aging is the progressive accumulation of changes with time that are associated with or responsible for an ever increasing susceptibility to that natural decline that happens for every one of us. Most times we think of aging and we're thinking about older adults, we're thinking about the seniors, we're thinking about the elders, and wondering, oh yeah, once I get old. But I think by now, for legacy guides, you all should know that it's a process. It starts from the day we were born, we begin to age. We had another day, and another day, and another day. And so every one of us, we are aging over time. But then it becomes a process, or a process that becomes concerning when we are aging and we become when we are aging and we become I don't know if my screen disappeared or something, but I cannot see my screen anymore. Can you guys still see it? If you can, that's fine with me. You cannot.
No, ma.
Okay, so I'm not. Okay, so I'm just going to try to share it again. Um, share. Sharing the wrong one. Stop presenting. Okay. Oh, were you seeing it? I see you giving thumbs up. Oh, you were seeing the right screen? Oh, okay. Okay. For me, it was showing me everybody's picture. But if you guys can see the right screen,
It's everybody's faces
okay,
we
that's
can
what it's
see.
showing for me too. Okay, so stop share. This is interesting. Just give me minutes. Just try to figure it out. Still wrong. Okay, I don't know. Uh, how about now? I think you're muted if you were trying to say something. Okay, thank you, Bulatife. Uh, right one? Okay, good, 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 good. Sorry, I have to go back. If you can see my screen, that's fine. I can't see I can't see everyone, but if you all can see my screen, once you cannot, just let me know. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, as what discussing earlier, the stages it's a progressive accumulation which happens over time, like I was saying. And then as we age more, especially from our 60s, 50s, 60s down, once we begin to get older, we become more susceptible to diseases and death, right? And there are 5 different stages in that process, one of which is self-sufficiency. At that point, we are still able, older adults, seniors are still significantly able to take care of themselves. So they do not need the daily care that it's necessary. And at some point, the independence begins to reduce. And so they become interdependent on others, needing occasional assistance, and then become more dependent and more dependent. So we have the dependency level where you require more consistent support. We have the crisis management and complex care, where you then require significant care. And then at the end of life, this is more at a stage where the person is dying, need more, is having more and more health issues. We need intensive care and support. In fact, sometimes 24 hours care and support. And they might not even be living in their own home. At this stage, they might be living in a facility or at a palliative care center or us on the progression today. But it's important to understand the progression. With that in mind, what then the question then that we need to ask is, why does this matter? Why is it important? What does this mean for the seniors? As a legacy guide, you want to understand, what does it mean to age and get to these different stages and gradually begin to decline, where they then begin to need 24/7 intensive care. What does it mean for the older adult? And a lot of times, you know, people who live around them, their caregivers, don't give so much thought to this. But since we are committing ourselves as individuals to serve the seniors in this way, it's something that I want us to begin to think more about consciously, that as the seniors that I'm caring for are aging, what does it mean for them? What does it mean for their independence? What does it mean for their health? And so there are 3, which leads me to the focus for today, restoring hope for seniors. There are 3 main things that seniors, there are so many things, but we're going to be focusing on the 3 main things that your coach wants me to talk about today, which is grief, abuse, and depression. Please let me know if you can no longer see my screen. Just send a chat or something. Um, or just unmute and let me know, because I can't tell right now. So the process of aging comes with its own unique challenges for our seniors and also their caregivers, whoever it is that is taking care of them, be it their children, be it their spouse who is older than them, maybe the wife is taking care of the husband, or the husband taking care of the wife, vice versa. So what does this mean for them? Many times they go through this seniors face grief. It could be grief of those that they themselves love, grief or about the things that they are able to do. Now they are not able to do the things that they used to do. And that itself can, lead to loss of independence. It can also lead to pain. It can bring grief to the older adults. We don't acknowledge this a lot, even as an individual for yourself. If you lose an ability to do the things that you enjoy doing, it comes with some level of grief. And then there's a loss of independence. At that stage, they're relying more on people, more on, you want to grab water, you need somebody. You want to stand up, you need somebody to pick you up to work. And so there's all of this. And then we have abuse. And depression. For the abuse, physical abuse, most times is not even intentional. You see, the older adult is living with their caregivers, and in that process, the caregiver might abuse them intentionally or unintentionally, talk to them in ways that are not really honorable. Might also, there are situations where the children or those who are caring for them might also mistreat their finances. So we have all of this going on for older adults at this stage. And how then has you as a legacy guide restore hope to seniors that might be facing this? I want us to keep that at the back of our mind. There's also depression. And again, one of the things we do not talk a lot about for older adults. We talk about younger kids going through depression and suicidal thoughts, despair, and feeling worthless about their life and things around them. But do we think about this when we talk about older adults? So I want us to keep that in mind as well. For the purpose of today, I think we know a lot, maybe not a lot, but we at least have an acknowledgement of what grief is. Older adults, before they get to that age of 60, 70, 80, as the Lord preserves their life, they may have experienced some form of loss, maybe loss of their parents, loss of friends around them. They would have experienced some loss of abilities and some loss of independence. And so these are things that most likely older adults are familiar with. And so I'm not going to be focusing on that necessarily. I think the part that we don't talk much about is the abuse and depression piece, right? Especially in the context of Africa and maybe Nigeria or whichever part of Africa you are from. We do not talk a lot about abuse, and it's happening among seniors. Younger kids, like even 7, 6, will talk to older adults however they like. That can lead to emotional abuse. And so I will be focusing on those for the purpose of today's training. This statistics is more in terms of the US context, but if in the US where the data has been collected, we have this. Think of Nigeria, think of Africa, where there's not a lot of data collection happening with regards to elder abuse and neglect. So we can understand that it is even much more grieve or whatever, what's the word? It is much more intense, the kind of abuse and neglect that will be happening in the continent. So in the US here, 1 in 10 people ages 60 and older experience some form of mistreatment. And only about 1 in 24 cases are reported to authority, right? And so we have physical abuse happening. And just here is just to show us that it could be bodily injury, physical pain, or impairment due to use of force. That's what physical abuse is. We have emotional abuse. Go ahead. Oh, at what point did it stop showing? Okay, so I'm gonna have to stop again and try. Thank you for letting me know. I'm not sure. But if you have any question, please feel free to also stop me. Stop me, let me know whatever question you have. I want this to be a little more interactive. That's why I'm trying to rush through the slide. Um, okay, this is maybe if Coach Tumi was sharing, maybe it's gonna be better. I don't know. Mm, I can do that, but okay, you can see. Okay, yeah. So I mean, hopefully this carries us through. I just have a few more slides. But yeah, so we have physical abuse happening, we have emotional abuse, and this is just details of what the percentages of the rate at which it is occurring. We have financial exploitation, which is the improper or illegal use of an older adult's money or property. We also have, in addition to this, we also have sexual abuse. Whether you like it or not, is happening among older adults, although it's really low compared to other type of abuse, but it is something that is happening. And this is any kind of non-consensual sexual contact with older adults. We also have caregiver neglect. It's a failure or refusal to take care of the older adults that is in your care, to care for them, to provide their necessary, the things that they need for their daily living and independence. It's also, we also have self-neglect, which is actually the most frequent type of abuse happening among older adults. And this is the inability or unwillingness to provide themselves with the resources to maintain safety and independent living. And this happens about 21 to 29% of the time. So this is something that is occurring more, and at least here in this part of the world, where some older adults live alone, do not have children coming to look at them and care for them. Neighbors are not necessarily there and things like that. But this might be less when we look at statistics in Africa. Okay, and then depression. for depression, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I think one of the things I want to emphasize here is that it's not a normal part of aging. So, some people might think, oh yeah, they're old, they have nothing to think about, and so maybe that's why they're feeling depressed. It's not a normal part of aging, and so as a legacy guide, when you go into the homes to care for the older adults and listen to their stories, pay attention to how they are feeling. Don't overlook their expressions of loneliness. Don't overlook the expression of isolation, because this is a sign that depression is happening with this older adult, and it is treatable. You talk to healthcare providers, they can talk to their doctors, but even just letting you can engage them in ways that can help reduce that feeling of depression. Depression can also be triggered by loss. So if there was a recent loss, maybe the loss of spouse, loss of children, or loss of friends, or if there's isolation, the older adult is not having constant touch with the people or community that they like to engage with. For example, if they love going to church and they are not doing that as often. So you want to help them as a legacy guide to think, okay, what are the alternative? At least for my grandma, I remember my mom mentioned at some points that they would bring Holy Communion to her in the house. The church leaders will come do that for her in the house so that she's not missing out from the things that she really loves to do. Also, it can, declining health can also trigger depression. When they're losing connection and support, it can also lead to depression. So, connection and support with help. When they are losing it, it can lead to depression. But when we are able to connect them and provide support for them in the way that they need it might be unique to each individual seniors that you're working with. And so pay attention to them, give them an opportunity to affirm them and give an opportunity for them to express their feeling. That can help with their recovery. So I think the other thing I want to touch about quickly is and I think I touched on them briefly as we were talking along. It's more of the consequences of grief, abuse, and depression for seniors. And as a legacy guide, I want you to keep this top of mind as well. So there's early mortality. There is, the functional decline and dependency. So this is categorized into two areas. One, focusing on their health. The other, which I'm just going to pull up right now, focusing on the financial piece. All of these are consequences of, grief, abuse, and depression. Because the more the older adult is experiencing these things, they are susceptible. They're susceptible to any of these things. They're susceptible to early mortality, low self-rated health, stress and fear, helplessness. Which again ties to depression. Now, I think this is where the last. This is not the last slide, but this is where your role comes into being as a legacy guide. Okay, this is interesting today. But yeah, so I think the slide I will try to do it again. The slide I want to show you now is the where your role as a legacy guide, your unique positioning as a legacy guide. It might be some kind of network glitch, I don't know, but we'll try again. Can you see it now? Okay. And then try to make it a presenter view. Can you see it now? Can you see it? Okay. Just say something so I can hear, because I can't see you. Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is where I want to focus a bit more on. As a legacy guide, you have a unique position. You have access to these people. You're a trusted companion in their story. You're helping them to make sense of what older aging and older adulthood it looks like. You're helping them out here. You're being a companion to them. And so as a legacy guide, you can help the seniors to reflect on their stories more. You can affirm their dignity and purpose. And you can also help them to counter that feeling of despair and loss. So I want you to own your role as a legacy guide and know that you are equipped. All of this training is equipping you to be able to support the seniors in your life and be able to, counter that feeling that comes with loss, that feeling that comes with grief, the feeling that comes with abuse. You can be able to counter it for them and advocate for them. The other thing about your role or your positioning as a legacy guide is that you are a safe bridge to the resources and support that are available. So this puts you in a role where you have to be an active learner. So you have to be active learning about the resources in the community that can better serve the seniors that you're caring for. So because of your close and non-judgmental relationship, and I hope you're non-judgmental when you interact with the seniors. And so because of your role as a close and non-judgmental legacy guide, you are often the first person to notice the changes that are happening with them. Because you're like an outsider coming into their space and you're seeing the things that are different about them. You came the last time, this senior was smiling. Now I'm here. They're not smiling and they're not as happy as they were the last time I visited. What is happening? Then you can probe for more questions. And so you're able to notice the signs of abuse or depression, and you can gently connect them with resources that are available in the community. And if there are no resources, you can be creative. You can talk to Coach Tommy, like, I noticed this about this senior. Is there anything out there? Again, that's why I said you have to be an active learner yourself, seeking for opportunities and resources that can serve the seniors better. And then there's you also you're a hope bearer. I know that we also go through our own situations. We have our own, circumstances in our own lives. But beyond us, once we wear that role of a legacy guide on and you step into the home of the senior adult, you are there as a hope bearer. Your presence and affirmation is important. So, unlike the clinical staff, like the nurses or the doctors or other health practitioners, you provide a steady presence. Your empathy and encouragement is essential to remind the older adult that their lives matter and that healing and connection is still possible. So you're there to give this older adult hope and to remind them more. You're like a motivator. You're there to encourage them, to cheer them up that no, aging is not the end of it. In your aging, you can still thrive. You can still be all that God wants you to be. So you are a hope bearer. You are carrying the message of the cross to these older adults and reminding them of his promises that he will carry them even to their old ages. Right? Okay. So, lastly, you are also an advocate for dignity and voice. So, as a legacy coach or a legacy guide, you want to advocate for your senior. When they share things with you, you don't want to keep quiet about it. You want to advocate. You want to look for, if somebody is saying, I'm being abused, or someone is stealing my money, you want to take the next step to see that that issue is being addressed. So, your job as a legacy guide is to ensure that the seniors are heard, they are respected, they are valued, especially in moments when there's grief, there's abuse, or depression. These moments, most times they might be silent, but your job there is to get them to a place where they can feel comfortable and relate with you. They become you become a companion to them. As a legacy guide, you become a companion to the seniors and helping them to make the right choices, and also to build a legacy that they would love to leave behind. So I think this kind of concludes it. I want to remind you that your unique positioning as a legacy guide is to work alongside the seniors. So as a legacy guide, we work alongside seniors in some of their most tender moments. You're not supposed to be ahead of them, like as if you're the boss. No, you're to work alongside them to support them. Your role is also not to fix them. Your role is to restore hope, dignity, and meaning to them in their old age, right? So I'm going to stop there and stop sharing the screen. I don't know if you're still seeing anything in my screen right now. Can you still see? Okay. Yeah, I stopped the share. I stopped the screen because that's the last slide. Yeah. Yeah. I would love, love, love to hear from both of you. So say something. Let me know if there's anything that is unclear. If I believe that some of these things are not new to you, definitely. But what are some of the questions you might have? If there's something new, let me know what that new thing is. Who wants to go first? Me, I'm not. I call names, so so I'd love to hear from you. Okay, Buluwatife, do you want to go first? You can also just even share whatever it is that you've learned, or yeah, anything that resonates with you from the teaching.
Okay, good evening,
Good
man.
evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the only question popping in my mind right now is that to communicate with seniors, you have to there should be this level of, how will I put it, understanding. I don't know if I can just go out and then meet a senior. I don't know how to create the rapport and start like a conversation, especially when maybe you can't speak their mother tongue. Let's say, for example, Yoruba, and you want to try and communicate. So there are barriers to like exploring and making them give their stories and communicate with you and just make them comfortable with you. So that's the only thing I have, the only issue.
Hmm, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm going to share my opinion and then allow your coach to also chime in as needed. Because I looked at the modules and the classes you've taken, so I'm believing at some places you will talk about this aspect as well. You will talk more about this aspect. And I don't, maybe let me ask a question, then I'll come back to your question. Is how are we still in training, or some of us are already having, Tommy, if you want to help me with this one, are some of the legacy guides already out in the field, or this is still the process of training to get us into the field? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I asked because I wanted to throw it back to her that how has she been doing it if she was already in the field? Yeah. So for me, I think for seniors mostly that I've interacted with, they want to talk. Many times they have things to say. At least here, where like if I'm in the line just trying to get something in the grocery store and another adult is behind me, just saying hi to them before you know it, from hi, they will tell you, they will tell you it's like they've been looking for somebody to talk to all along. So and I think so. It's not the most difficult thing to engage them. I think your question speaks to the barrier with, let's say, the language or something specific in that instance. If you cannot speak the language that they understand, and yeah, that can be a barrier. Definitely. So to work as a, like, I think it would be easier to work with because now you would need an interpreter to be going back and forth between you two. Um, so I don't know if that services is something that is to be considered down the line. But as a starter, I think I will start with someone that can at least understand my flow. Also, you want to you might have people who can speak English, but maybe broken English. And so at that point, you want to break it down. You don't want to use big grammar as a graduate or a student. You want to, flow with them in their level. And but the thing that I want to be cautious about though is sometimes we treat older adults as though they are babies. And so when we're talking to them, you also want to have the balance and not be treating like I met another lady and she's like, I hate it when I go to the hospital and the nurse is telling me, darling, like, who is your darling? So she wants them to resist. I have a name, call me name. So sometimes they want to be respected for who they are. So when you're talking, it's not like you talk like they're babies. You want to talk in the way that they can understand. But importantly, you want to come down to, depending on, it will depend on who you are interacting with. You would assess the person once you start the conversation, and I think that might help. But with regards to the language itself, you might need an interpreter in that situation. I see that there might be limited time for us here on the group, so I'll turn it to Coach Tomi quickly. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Maz. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, no, ma. From the question my other colleague asked, I also gained something. It's a similar question from like hers, but when you were explaining, I was able to also understood what I'm supposed to do in that aspect, because I said I was working with a senior like that. So like two of them, but one is like she's not feeling well, so the communication is not really flowing, and she's an Igbo, so she her vocal this thing is not really open. So I couldn't hear. Sometimes they had to put you have to go close to her to hear response. So I was not able to do it down. So but she's not really, she's just let's say 67 years, but she had a stroke, and so it made her not to be able to do anything as such. So to work was a problem. So to I was trying to talk to her and put her, I pray with her. She always, anytime I go there, she's very, very happy. Is my friend mom. She brought her from the village. So I was going there. So because of that, even before I joined this thing, I've always been going there, always engaging her, dance for her, make her happy. So she was like, she was not liking me more. Every time she be asking after me, every time. So I got, when I actually enrolled, so I was using these skills to be able to talk to her, to be able to put her through. But the disadvantage is that I don't used to hear. So I tell
Mm,
her, that my colleague Igbo, to tell me whatever she's saying. She says it in Igbo, so she will always tell me this is what she said, this is what she said. So I'm really seeing how I can be able to um
interact.
get my information, yeah, interact with her, and then finish off my assignment. I was enlightened when she were able to shed more light on that aspect of interpretation, and that was actually what we were doing. So thank you, ma, for the opportunity and the privilege, ma. That's what I want to say, ma. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so, it's so nice. Yeah, go ahead, Coach Tomi. I think it would be that last slide that I showed, which says that you're working alongside the older adults. You're working alongside them. Because I'm also, trying to learn more from you all about the legacy guide. That's not an area that I'm so familiar with. So it's nice to hear. Maybe when next I have an opportunity to be with you, I would love, and we should have started with that actually. I'd love to hear from each one of you. Just tell me, who are you working with right now, and how is that going? That would have been a way to for me to learn a little bit more about what you're doing. But I think I would leave you with that same quote. It says, as a legacy guide, you want to work alongside the seniors in different moments that they're expressing and experiencing rather, and they're experiencing really tender moments, like you just said. Some of them are experiencing grief, maybe a very close friend that they've been friends for. Imagine if you're 70, you might have been friends for somebody with somebody for like 30, 50, 40 years, and suddenly the person is no more. That's painful. That's a huge gap that they will experience. Or married for 50 something years, and one day you just look around, the spouse is nowhere to be found. So we underestimate the experience that they would be going through. Or you used to be this really well accomplished older adult. You had your own business. If you were not, you were running your own, and suddenly now you are depending on everybody. you know So it's a huge, you're dependent, and small children will come and just talk to you anyhow. You're just looking, so it can be a lot to carry in that age. And your job there, especially as a Christian legacy guide who is doing this, with as a calling, your job there is not only to help them through the moment, it's also to pray with them when they are there and to pray for them when you are by yourself. So you're praying with them when you're with them, and you're also remembering them in your prayer when you're outside of their home, in your own closet, saying this. And importantly, you want to also, check in with them on their salvation. And you have a lot, you're blessed in that phase. I think we lost Buluatife, but you have a lot to do as a legacy guide. And I will remind you again, your job is not to fix anybody, but to restore hope, to restore dignity, and to give meaning to their life in the end of life. I hope that helps. Yeah. You mean? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'll run along. Except there's something you're owed me for. Okay. You're welcome. Bye, everyone. Nice meeting you all. Yeah, bye.